Hey everyone, as always, Dylan Miller Prospecting, and it's Paydirt review time again. And I am continuing my series where I am trying to find some of the most difficult Paydirt there is. And if you've ever had anyone recommend a difficult Paydirt, it's usually Washington Beach Mining, which is exactly who I will be reviewing today. This is their 1 pound beach sands bag. And I have reviewed this before, and this is some really tough stuff to go through. But I will be trying all my little tricks to make it a little easier. I am going to classify this down. I will use a magnet, and we will see how the outcome is. But let's just go to the overhead right after I flash up the description. As you saw, a really detailed description. It gives you all the information you need about this bag of Paydirt, where it's from, how much the bag weighs, which we will check, and how much gold is in here per tablespoon. They don't give you a specific amount of gold you'll find in here, but they do tell you that you should find 10 to 100 pieces per tablespoon. They also tell you just how difficult this stuff is to pan out. So there you go, 1 pound, 0.2 ounces. Let's open this up and look at the nightmare that is soon to come to my pan. Unfortunately, as per usual, it's damp. So I'm going to go dry this off and be right back, which seems to be a habit a lot lately. All right, finished drying this stuff off. It didn't take too long. It was pretty damp though. So let's weigh it up again, see how much weight we lost due to water. It was a little bit over 1 pound. And now we're at 15.1. So we lost about an ounce there. Now let's check it for magnetics. I mean, it's pretty heavy with magnetics. So that's pretty good. Now I am going to classify this down. I made a mistake in my last video, as well as a lot of my videos in the past, where I just assumed if a bag is a black sand bag, I really didn't need to classify it down. But I really should classify them down, and I will start classifying them down because I need to know what size the gold is. So let's listen to some music and classify this down. All classified down, and as you can see, it's almost all in the minus 40. There is a little bit in the plus 40, but really not too much. There was a 1 piece of gold, which is really surprising. I don't think I've ever seen a piece of gold. And this is actually in the plus 10. You might have seen me kind of rechecking the plus 10 pan because I just skated through at the last second. But it was in the plus 10 originally, and really nothing in there. Mostly this is just organic, so if you classified it down, you might find yourself a little bitty picker and get rid of all that organics. Now let's just go set up some water and pan this out. So I have my water set up, have my pan, have all the Paydirt right here, and I did pull out all the magnetics. As you can see, there are a lot of them. I won't pan these out on camera, but I will pan them out later just to make sure no gold got trapped, but I'm pretty sure none did. So I am not going to pan out the plus 10 because there's really nothing here. I will check it just to make sure nothing went through it, of course. But we're going to get started with the minus 10 plus 20 and listen to some more music. Well, finished panning everything out as you saw, and that was some extremely difficult pay dirt to go through, but we will talk about that in a minute. First, let's just show you the gold I did find. In the plus 10, nothing, not even one piece, but I really did not expect to find any gold in the plus 10. In the minus 10, plus 20, I did find a piece of gold, and that was really surprising to me. That is probably the biggest piece of gold I've ever found in Washington Beach Mining's black sands bags, and I have gone through quite a few of them. So it was a nice surprise. Now in the minus 20, plus 40, even more gold, but not much, probably 5 little pieces in there, and that's about typical of what you usually will find in these bags. And last but not least, in the minus 40, even more gold. And this is pretty much where you should expect to find almost all the gold you're going to recover, which is what makes this bag of pay dirt so difficult. So let's just weigh it up. Minus 10 plus 20, 0.040. Minus 20 plus 40. I don't think this is going to budge the scale. I'll be surprised. Yep, not even enough to budge the scale. And lastly, the minus 40. $0.105. So let's just add everything. Let's see what the grand total is. $0.145. So now let's talk about difficulty. Now, Washington Beach Mining is known for being difficult pay dirt to go through, and I agree 100%. This stuff is a nightmare to go through. Even cheating and using a magnet, this stuff is hard. It's hard for a beginner, hard for an advanced panner, and hard for an expert panner. I really have a tough time always going through this stuff. It takes forever. It is a lot of work. So this stuff is definitely some of the hardest pay dirt I've ever gone through. It is definitely harder than the Gold Bay pay dirt I went through last week because that one had a lot of larger gold. This stuff is pretty much all minus 40. So if you miss that, you're pretty much not going to find any gold. So now let's just get to the ROI and the review. All right, finished calculating my ROI, writing up my review, and let's get right to it. This again was from Washington Beach Mining. It was their 1 pound black sands bag. It had no guaranteed gold, but they do state there is gold in it. Its cost was $29. Shipping was free, so total cost right here, $29. Now the gold I recovered, again right here, 0.145 grams of gold. Gold spot on the day this was received was $61.58, making this gold's value worth $8.93, which gives me an ROI of 30.79%, or on my scale, a 3.1. Now, I do know that is a really low ROI, and I typically would not buy pay dirt with such a low ROI, except for the fact that this pay dirt is listed as something extremely difficult to go through and as a challenge, and that's why I buy this pay dirt. And I do buy this pay dirt occasionally just to practice panning with, and not for the high ROI. So it isn't ever going to be a high ROI bag, but it will always be one of the most challenging bags you will ever pan out. Now for fun factor, I'm bumping this up to a 4 because it is exactly what they describe it as, and that is a really challenging bag of pay dirt to go through without a very high ROI. So I got exactly what I bought, and I had a lot of fun panning this out. For Paydirt description, I'm giving them an 8. They tell you pretty much all you need to know. This stuff is extremely difficult to go through, and it will have a low ROI, as well as a lot of other information too. Now for quantity and packaging, they're getting a 9, 10 for quantity and an 8 for packaging. For customer service and shipping, they're getting a 10 on both. I've never had any issues getting in contact with them, and they've always shipped out any Paydirt extremely quickly. So for customer service and shipping, they're getting a 10. So total score for Washington Beach Mining's 1 pound black sands bag is a 6.8. Now that's typically not the score I would rebuy a seller from. I like to be around the 7.5 and above, but this is a different beast. This is something you buy simply to test equipment or to test your panning skills, not for the ROI. If you watched my last review where I was going through some other impossible Paydirt, it was pretty easy, but I did get a high ROI. The trade-off for that high ROI, though, was that the Paydirt was extremely easy to go through and was not as hard as this one. So now all that's left is to flash up the score and give away a 24 karat gold-plated dime. So let's just flash up the score right here. Now before I give away today's 24 karat gold-plated dime, I do need to give some shout-outs to 2 of my newest Patreon members. And that's Charles Socks and Andrew Ritz. Or Ritz. Andrew Ritz. Hope I didn't butcher that up. So thank you both very much for joining my Patreon page. And if anyone else is interested in supporting this channel, you can go to patreon.com/Miller Prospecting. And now for today's 24 karat gold plated dime winner, that's going to go to Rinky's Carnage Crew. So Rinky's Carnage Crew, make sure you email me so I can send this off to you. And to everyone else, thanks for watching. Happy panning. And if you're not already a subscriber, hit the subscribe button below.